Growing up in Coburg was amazing. It's not exactly Toronto, more of a middle ground between a large city and a small town. Traffic was minimal, and we had most of the amenities. Life was pretty great. That was until my mom got a job in a small town called Tweed. I wasn't too happy, to say the least. I was 13 and built what I thought was a pretty good life here. Just the thought of never seeing my friends again scared me. It's not easy being accepted in a group. You're a stranger and unknown to everyone. I pleaded for us to stay, but to no avail. In 2 months, we would move into our country home, and my new life would begin. I was mad. Actually, more like heartbroken. I don't think she knew how hard it was for a kid to adjust to a new life, especially a life so foreign to him. I've never been in the country before. In fact, I've never even seen a cow in real life. Now I'm expected to live in a rural town full of country folk? I know I was being selfish. Mom had problems too, and if she's trying to make it work, the least I could do was try as well. The day of the big move came in no time. I said goodbye to my friends and began my ride to our new home. The house itself was huge. We were cut off from almost everyone. In the beginning, I was happy. We lived in a tiny two-bedroom apartment in Coburg. I didn't hate it, but the extra room was certainly welcome. The home was fairly old and wasn't in the best shape. The white paint was starting to peel off the house, and the hardwood floors had discolored stains on them, as well as a slightly pungent aroma. Let's just say it was far from perfect. But it was home, and I decided to make the best of it. A paint job can fix the panels, and Febreze can mask whatever smell the house had. That afternoon consisted of moving in our stuff and settling down in our new home. I spent most of the day in my room making sure everything was right. After obsessively moving my bed about 6 times, I finally think I found the perfect spot. To celebrate, I went downstairs to grab a Coke. But as I walked by a window, something caught my eye. Standing in the woods in our backyard was a man. I don't think he saw me, or at least he didn't acknowledge my presence. He just eyed our home. Finally, after a few moments, he turned around and walked back into the woods, disappearing. It was weird, I thought, but I wasn't really afraid. He didn't seem dangerous, more curious. Maybe he knew the previous renters and came to see who moved in. When I mentioned it to Mom, she wasn't so sure. She agreed he may have just wanted to see who moved in. But if I do see him again, to let her know right away. The tone of her voice was calm, but how she started rubbing her hands as I brought up the man did make me more nervous than I was. That night, there was no chance of me falling asleep. I just couldn't stop wondering if that man was still out there, watching. My first day at Tyndall Public School went pretty much how I expected it to. Nearly all the kids came up to me and bombarded me with the usual questions you would ask a new guy. Where are you from? What school did you go to? And why did you move? Even though I must have answered the exact same question 20 times that day, I didn't mind. It felt nice meeting everyone, and got my mind off what happened the previous day. When I got home, I made my way to the freezer to begin dinner. Mom wouldn't be home till late, so I had the house to myself. I popped in a backyard barbecue TV dinner in the microwave, then settled down on the couch to watch Martin Mystery. At around 6, I started to get a chill run down my back, and had a growing suspicion that I was being watched. I got up and went to the front door to see if Mom was home. Nope, nothing. I then went to go check the window in the backyard. When I got there, I wish I hadn't. Standing in the woods was the man. This time he saw me as well. He looked like he was in his late 30s. He had a thick beard and a dirty red flannel jacket on. We eyed each other for a moment. He then smiled and signaled for me to come over to him. The only thing I could think of to do was to shake my head no. The man stood there for a moment, but then realized there was no way of me coming out. He then just waved and went back into the woods. When Mom got home, I decided to keep quiet. It was her first day at her new job, and the man didn't really do anything anyway. Your mind has a great way of rationalizing a situation. Over the next few months, I started to settle down in my new home in the country. I made a few friends and even a best friend. I didn't see that man either since the last time, and started to forget about him altogether. That was until Colton came over for the weekend. The Friday night was pretty great. We played God of War 2 and pigged out on junk food, and talked about all the cute girls in our class. The next morning, Colton wanted to go into the woods. I was weary at first, but then gave in. It would be nice to finally go back there and see what the woods were like. We packed a lunch and began our walk in the early morning. After walking a bit, we came to a nice stream. It was beautiful. The water was about a foot deep and flowed calmly into the woods. I dipped my hand into the freezing water and wished it around for a bit. Colton and I then sat on the grass and devoured our ham sandwiches. We didn't say a word to each other and just looked out into the water, taking in the serenity of the forest. Once we were finished, we were going to see if the stream led to a bigger body of water. But before we could go, we heard a noise echo through the woods. Colton busted out laughing at the noise. However, I wasn't so ready to. I immediately thought of the man I saw before, and asked Colton if he knows what could have made that sound. He shook his head no, but figured it was some kind of bird. Almost immediately after the first wails, the second ones came. Colton wasn't laughing anymore. We just stood there, not knowing what to do. And after a moment, Colton muttered a faint, "Let's leave." Without saying another word, we made our way home. As we walked, we could hear the branches cracking in the distance. The noises grew closer and closer and closer. I just knew someone was going to pop out and grab one of us. However, to my relief, we made it out. That night, we sat on the couch making fun of whatever was out there. I guess to calm our nerves, we tried to make the thing as non-creepy as possible. When it was time to sleep, however, the fear quickly came back. What the hell makes a sound like that? And if it is the man, why is he out in the woods? A few days after the incident, my mom came in my room and told me not to go in the woods. I asked her why, and she brought up bears or wolves being out there, and how this is different from the city. I had no plans of going back there, so I agreed. Thankfully, I've never seen or heard him again. Things slowly started to go back to normal. Days turned into months, and those months turned into years. I'm now 22 and working at a gas station in Shannonville. Although I do live in Belleville, I visit my mom as much as I can. About a week ago, we were having dinner talking about a new creepy guy at Mom's work, who basically hits on all the female employees. I brought up the man in the woods comparing the two. I expected Mom to chuckle, but instead she went quiet, She asked me if I remember why I wasn't allowed to go in the woods. I said yes, bringing up the animals. She then looked at me with a serious tone and told me the real reason why. A few months after moving in, Mom was hanging out clothes, and out of the corner of her eye saw the man, standing in the woods near our backyard. Mom went to introduce herself, but when she got close to him, she stopped. He had a gigantic smile stretched from ear to ear. He just stared at her for what seemed like minutes. Mom said she said hi and asked him what his name was, but nothing. He just kept that grin until finally he started to scream. The man then turned around and disappeared into the forest. This is when she told me not to go into the woods. But the story doesn't end there. Over the years, she would see the man, just staring at her. Whenever she tried to talk to him, he would just shriek and walk away. Recently, she has been seeing the man more and more. In fact, nearly every week now. After hearing this, I begged my mom to come stay with me for a few days, until she finds another place. But she won't. Mom believes if the man was dangerous, he would have tried something by now. But I disagree. I haven't really talked about the Shrieking Man to anyone. So I was wondering, does anyone near the Tweed area know of a similar story? He technically isn't doing anything illegal, since we don't own the property behind the house. So I don't think it would make much sense to involve the police. I've tried looking into this myself, but couldn't find anything. I'm scared for my mom. At first I thought it was a man screwing with us for a few laughs. But after hearing Mom's story, it's been nearly 10 years now, and he's never gone away. So if you know anything, please, get a hold of me because I don't think the Shrieking Man will stop anytime soon.